sometimes it's people have their shows they're watching all the time, and their life gets dictated by that.
Yeah.
Then, it's hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then where do you fit in time for real life connection? Where do you fit in time for real communication? Welcome to the Kicked in the Junk podcast. This is a podcast where we discuss the low times in life, where we talk about when the things that just hit us so hard and it feels like we can never recover from injuries to job loss to divorce to career changes to starting up new businesses. We discuss it all and look at the raw emotion that we feel during those times, but more importantly, what would we learn from these low moments and how sometimes those moments catapult us into the next amazing thing that we didn't even see coming. My name's Nathaniel Burke, and I'm the host. I hope you enjoy. On today's episode, I have an awesome discussion with my wife, Emily. We share some of our previous experiences in our old lives and our old relationships, and some of the dangers and habits that we had back then that were unhealthy, and then unfortunately we see now in a lot of people that we know, from friends to family, and people that we're even helping in their relationship. So I'm really excited to share this because these are things that we see so often and are really easy to fix and can make such an impact in your life. So thanks for listening. If you haven't yet, I just ask you to subscribe and share with somebody that might need to hear this, that is maybe spending a lot of time doing these unhealthy things that could make a big influence in their life. So without further delay, we'll get right to the episode. Emily, thanks for hanging out on my show. In our house.
In our living room.
You're the best guest I could ever ask for. I mean,
easiest commute.
Yeah, easiest commute for you. Yeah, easiest to set up too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So today's episode is about relationships, and we're going to be I'm going to kind of diving a lot into that with this podcast is relationships, which we've talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But what I want to talk about is intimate relationships, and today specifically being the things that you've done in your past, and I'm going to go and share mine, that were toxic, or habits, whatever, little or small things that, maybe one or two things that you did that you look back now and you're like, that was a bad idea. And I definitely, anybody going into a relationship forward, I wouldn't recommend. And I would say, hey, this is how you can do it. So, so yeah, that's going to kind of be the theme today. And yeah, if you want to kick it off with something that you've noted in your past relationship that you had for 16 years that wasn't healthy at all. It's very similar to mine, being unhealthy for 10 years, and what you would do, what you noticed, and what you notice other people doing, and what you do now.
Well, but sorry, I know we talked about it like just before this, but then my mind kind of switched a little bit.
Okay, I like it.
Because there is so many different things in relationships. And,
oh, yeah.
And I think, I don't want to get crazy because I know we just want to do a quick little hit on this, but I think it's about time and valuing your time. And I didn't do that in the past. Okay. In my previous relationship. I
didn't value your own time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In that I didn't see even how I wanted to spend my time. Mind you, I was young. I was 20.
Sure.
And then going forward, but started when I was 20. And that's young. I didn't know who I wanted to be, how I wanted to be. But I think one of the biggest things that contributed to the relationship not being a fully present relationship was a lot of distraction.
Right.
I think was big because I didn't really have the self-worth and awareness to look into what I actually wanted and needed.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there was a lot of just distraction.
Right. And I think you kind of hit it there, is just recognizing what you want and need, and being okay with it and being okay to ask it. So, and I've been there before, when you're afraid to ask for what you want, you just allow for whatever happened to happen. Just because you're, sometimes, especially at that age, you're just so happy somebody wants to be around you.
Totally. Right. Well, that's my second boyfriend. Yeah, yeah, so it was, yeah.
Totally. So what does, in terms of distractions, what did that look like?
Well, I think at the beginning, I mean, when I was 20, there wasn't like social media, I mean, that kind of stuff, right? But we watched a lot of TV.
Okay.
Yeah, my ex and I, a lot of TV. Well, we met, I mean, I'd known him since I was a kid, but we kind of re-met working at the video store. He hired me. And so it's just movies, television. That's like, it's like all we did.
Right. Yeah, and I find it was funny because that was something that I was going to say for our lines. You kind of stole mine.
Pirate.
Yeah, you are. So I think the danger there is, and again, we're both big movie buffs. I love movies.
Me too.
Definitely nothing wrong with a good show.
No.
But I think it's where you're putting your attention. And when your common ground is your movies, like what else do you have, right? And not only that, it's not just your common ground. Where you put your time, that's where your values are. And so the only thing you value is shows that you like together. You're setting yourself up for in my opinion, relationship that's going to not work.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because it's I mean, relationships aren't easy, right? There's this whole and that's part of and as I'm saying this, that's probably even part of the danger of some of the TV shows and movies that you can watch, because they romanticize relationships. And which is all fun. Like, I love rom-coms, I love beautiful dramas, all those kinds of things. But what is the actual reality of a relationship is that it is messy, it is imperfect, it is work, it is hard conversations. And I wouldn't trade any of those. Yeah. But I know that now. Yeah. I didn't know that then.
After doing all those other things.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's funny because I was actually going to say the same, like you said, I was going to say the same thing is and I think it's even more common now, when your relationship is based off of what you stare at, right? You're not together. I mean, you can just look at where your attention is. Your attention isn't together. Your attention isn't on anything. You may be even close, even if you're snuggling, whatever. It's just bad. But when the bulk of your free time is spent on a movie, where both your attention is on the movie, on the TV show, watching the next episode, whatever it is, binging on these things.
But it's like even more than that. I mean, and nowadays you can throw in social media and the distraction there, because I didn't have that at the beginning. Towards the end of my relationship with my ex, I definitely used social media as my distraction, 100%.
Yep, same, yep.
100%. But I think that even more than that, like and I know my ex and I, like, we didn't share the same shows that we liked. He liked horror movies and super weird cult classics and all that kind of stuff, which I don't enjoy that. Yeah. But I would watch it sometimes, because then, you want to do something that the other person likes, but then I resent a little. Yeah. So I start building up these little resentments within myself, because I'm not even getting to watch the shows that I want to watch, because I'm doing it for him. Right? And I'm sure he felt the same towards me. Yeah. Where he doesn't like the same kind of shows that I liked. So he probably built little resentments towards me. And we never talked about it.
Totally. So even in something that was, I wouldn't say watching shows and movies is unhealthy.
No.
But if you're, if you're spending 3-4 hours a day of your free time, because you sleep for 8 hours, you're working for 8 hours, right? You don't have much free time left after that, doing that. And so even when you do something together, it is something that I wouldn't agree with and think you should be spending a ton of time doing. You don't even have an agreement there, which is interesting, because you're not even, it's not like you're both, out, let's say, doing something physical together, or doing something, out in nature or whatever, right? And you're having a disagreement. It's something that's already unhealthy.
Yeah. Yeah, because typically, I mean, I know this is kind of off track a little bit, but typically when you watch a show, you snack. And I know I sure did. Yeah. You know me, my salty crunchy. Yeah. I love salty crunchy, and frig, back in the day, it would have been TV shows and chips and popcorn and massive bowls of pasta, and there was a reason that I had put on a fair amount of weight. Yeah. Absolutely. So now you can. So really, if you look at like that scenario, it's kind of funny, because
it's so innocent, right? You
It
think
is.
of like that's the thing. It's like going, think of like going to the movies. It's so innocent. It's fun. It's like, oh, you're going to the movies. You get to not go with your partner, hold hands, whoever it is, right? And you get some popcorn and a snack. But it's, then you think, okay, well, now we're just hitting that repeat button over and over and over again. You're doing the same thing at home, and it's not just 1 hour show. Sometimes it's people have their shows they're watching all the time, and their life gets dictated by that.
Yeah.
Then it's hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and then where do you fit in time for real life connection? Where do you fit in time for real communication? To do something physical together, because that builds huge connection. Like we know that. When do you have time to listen to music together and dance? When do you have time to, do anything that you both value other than just the show?
Yeah.
Right? And add in the snacks and, sedentary, you're being sedentary. So it's kind of this, if you think about it, it's kind of this like, little wolf. It's like a little wolf in sheep's clothing in a way, being that it's very innocent and kind of sweet. But when you're indulging in it all the time, it's not the same anymore. It's like having a nice cup of wine. It's great. But if you're drinking it 3-4 of them a day, every day, it's not so good anymore, right?
Mm-hmm. And I mean, how many times have you heard, we binged it.
Yeah.
Or we stayed up till 2 a.m, just next episode.
Totally. So then you think of the, so we already kind of talked about, where your attention's going. So your attention's going to the TV and the show. And yeah, you might talk about, even if you're touching each other, it's, but you're both kind of just sitting there and you're still, all your attention's on the TV. And then you have the snacks, which again in itself isn't bad, but if that's all you're doing. And then the sedentary life, right? And then now if you add in, let's say, instead of, watching half hour, an hour before bed, and you go to bed at a reasonable time, you wake up at a reasonable time, now you're going to bed late. Now your sleep is suffering, right? Which is going to throw off your hormones and your mood, and you're going to be groggy and tired. And guess what you're not going to do the next day? You're not going to want to...
And it's hard to show up for your partner in that way.
Yeah.
Like when you're not feeling super yourself, it's really hard to show up for yourself, let alone your partner.
Totally. How do you a good example is, if you're out, let's say you're watching shows all night and movies, whatever, even if it's something amazing, it's like you go to bed, you're all fired up because that's what movies are meant to do. They're meant to kind of get your adrenaline going a lot of times and your cortisol going, and then you try to fall asleep with that, pumping through your body. And then, so then let's say you finally fall asleep, but your sleep doesn't be as good as if you were to went to bed earlier. Not to mention if you're going to bed, I think it's past 11 o'clock, that's when your growth hormones are released. So if you're going to bed at 1 or 2, you're missing out on those beautiful gifts. Some people call your growth hormones the fountain of youth, right? So you're missing out on all that. And then you wake up the next morning and you're tired. Are you going to want to be physical and just physically active? No. Are you going to want to be physically intimate when you're exhausted and tired? No.
Well, no, because you don't typically feel super good about yourself.
Yeah.
That's the thing for me, like when it was just TV all the time, like I look back on that part of my life and I feel shame about myself like a little bit.
Yep.
Like how much time I wasted.
Oh, I remember crushing seasons of like, you name it, like Big Bang Theory, like Chris, like all these, like see tons of seasons, like all these ones that I'm like, why? Like it was such a waste.
Oh yeah,
right?
Totally. And I think and it's just relationship wise, it's very difficult to consume that level of stimulation, that level of separation from the reality, right? Like what's going on.
Real life, yes.
Yeah, it's very difficult to really build a true connection with your partner.
Absolutely.
Through so much distraction. And we're just talking about shows. Again, I mentioned social media a little bit, but like...
Oh yeah, that's a whole other rabbit hole.
It is.
Well, and it just got me thinking now too, and this is so funny because actually we're both big movie buffs, and we love good shows. This is it's so funny because we're picking apart the things we do also enjoy.
But we also went 3 weeks without turning on the television.
Oh, totally.
And it felt like
it's awesome.
So
and look at
good.
how much we got done. I think I crushed a book in that time, which is wild because I'm not a fast reader unlike you. But it just made me think of one other aspect of this is what are you watching and inundating yourself with? Not, again, nothing wrong in any of these one things themselves, any of these genres, but hypothetically, if you're in a relationship and you're watching all these fun rom-com movies where there's always this amazing happy ending and this, if you're constantly watching that, like, what do you think that's doing to your subconscious mind? Mm-hmm. Oh, my relationship should look like this. My relationship, you know what I mean? Or on the flip, if you did, let's say, watch a lot of horror movies or like crime movies, and then it's like, you've been there where, all of a sudden your partner or whoever, or even you're worried about, this could happen, and it does affect you.
Of course it does.
Right? Because you're putting yourself in those scenarios and you're so into those shows, movies, whatever it is, that you start kind of thinking like that because you can't not, right? Because you're inundating yourself with that.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
So it changes your psychology a little bit too, and that can be even more dangerous because that's longer lasting.
Yeah. And it can contribute to the separation of self, right? Like when you look at like movies like that or whatever, and you start thinking and comparing your life to it, and we can also inundate that with social media when you start comparing yourself to what you're seeing and how I should be, and I'm not good enough unless I have this.
Yep.
That, like, they kind of go hand in hand with movies and not hand in hand, but like there's correlation there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can start feeling bad about your relationship.
Yes.
You feel bad about yourself because yours doesn't look like that. Or you start even like feeling angsty towards your partner, like, well, why don't you treat me like that? I deserve this.
Exactly. Look at all these movies. In all these movies, in all the movies, they do this, and this. And Tony, we've talked about it before. I 100% agree. You're just constantly able to compare yourself, and even if it is just a movie, or even if it's reality TV or any sort of show, like, you're still comparing all the time.
And that's part of it, right? Like, me myself, I don't value, I don't need a ton of jewelry. I don't wear it, don't like it. But I bet if I watched a lot of those like commercials that have like fancy pretty girls with the big bling on their fingers, and how man's love for you is based on the size of the rock that you get and all that kind of stuff, I bet you I'd believe that.
Totally. And it's not, and this is the crazy thing, is it's very subtle.
Yeah.
It's this erosion. It's the little trickle of water that keeps going, or even just drops, that, a leaky faucet, even if you let a leaky faucet go for a day, it's not bad. But think of that over a week, a month, a year, how much water. Now you could flood a basement with that kind of water. Yeah. Right? And so the same idea is you're just constantly, these little drops that are constantly can change and affect how you're thinking, subconsciously, normally, right? You're not aware of this most of the time. I mean, again, I've been there before. I've compared my relationship to what I've seen on shows. Why can't our relationship be this? Why can't we have this? Why can't this? And then eventually you start, subconsciously you're thinking it, and then you start consciously saying it and doing it and thinking it. And why does my partner look like that? Why, because that's just what you're being exposed to all the time.
And especially if you're in something that might not be the happiest, healthiest.
Yep. It's even easier to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because your mind is looking for it, right? Like, it's looking for almost a reason for why it is the way it is. And then it kind of keeps us there a little bit.
Yep.
Because it's familiar,
Yep.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Yeah. It's interesting. And I think, but I mean, we're talking about our experiences.
Yes. Yep.
This is, right? Like, we both just had a little bit of that in common, which was my relationship with my ex was very heavily based on television. And I think...
I'm the same.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, a lot of that probably was my fault.
Oh, totally.
I think that he likely would have done more outside of that than me. But I think I just wasn't happy.
Totally. And that's, to flip it back to, I think, for myself, I think there was a lot of stuff that, again, I love movies. I love, those things. And, allowing that to just be a relationship and not be willing to move and shift, right? And try other things and have a relationship outside of sitting on the couch or on a bed or, watching movies all day long. right? And that was definitely like on me.
Oh,
That
no.
part, totally, right?
Definitely.
I mean, and you can point blame. It's easy to point blame, but really, yeah, even definitely something I could have changed, and that's why now we limit these things now,
Big time.
and we still do them. And
Oh,
we still
yeah, because we love our shows and our movies.
Oh yeah, but it's funny now because even now after like if we do watch a movie, it's like okay, like I want to go like go take the dogs for a walk and like go like do something else, or sometimes we'll have I don't know while we're cooking and do something together. Yeah. And so that's gonna be our next question. So what do you think? Because I do see this very common now and hear this all the time now in relationships. Yeah. And you ask, well, what do you when you and your partner do? And it's like, oh, we do this and this. And I've heard of people waking up in the morning, watching shows, first thing in the morning, going to work, coming back, and that's all they do is watch shows together. Yeah. So it just look at where you're spending your free time on that. That's very shallow, unfortunately. There's no foundation there. So, and not to mention too is where are you having fun together? Because
well, you can trick yourself into thinking that's fun.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
100% you can. Yep. 100%. Like I loved watching shows.
Totally, yeah.
And I convinced myself how much I loved watching shows.
Yeah. And we're creatures of habit. I'm a very big creature of habit. Yes, so me, it's like, well, you're the one that breaks me out of these habits. But but at this time we do this and this show's on and like we like it because it's familiar and it's predictable. Right? And versus like trying to break out of that, it gets a little scary or can be a little scary. So, but I think it's so critical to break out of those patterns and then to do something different. Go do a hike that you've never done. Go for a walk you've never done.
Even just walk around the block.
Yeah, walk around the block.
Go talk to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Do something. I think really that's like the biggest, in my opinion, the lowest hanging fruit is to do something physical together. Sex, sure.
Sex is great.
Exercise, absolutely. Awesome. Go for a walk, absolutely. If you go to the beach, sure. You're still going out and doing something outside of a screen together that's out in nature. I mean, the gym, but you're physical. But if you're both like taking pictures, go together and take a bunch of pictures, like but you're out, with actual cameras, not your phone, but like, and going and doing that and doing something outside together because I think it's so critical. You have to have common ground outside of that. Yes, having the movies, even if you don't even like the same movies and shows, but I don't even think that's that as important. I think it's doing the physical stuff is critical. And ideally something that you both enjoy that's fun. Mm-hmm. Right? Bike riding, skateboarding, scootering, like, I don't even care.
Rollerblading.
Yeah, anything. Even just going and sitting in the park and listening to the birds and anything. Like, it doesn't have to cost a bunch of money. Skiing, you can do like tons of extreme stuff, skiing, snowboarding, water skiing, all that stuff, golfing, whatever you want. But even just stuff that's free, like go to the park and just look around at nature and you can appreciate it, right? And you get to witness these things together.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's just even a matter of breaking the routine.
Yes. Yeah.
One of the best things I ever did back in the day was cut off cable. Yeah. Because I used to dictate my life off of, Thursday nights I can't. That's like CSI night. Yeah. Tuesday nights I can't. It's this night. Like, I knew my shows, what day they were on, and I scheduled my life around my shows. Wow. Yeah. Like, because that was before the day of like PVR and all that. Yes. Yeah. And so
you're not alone in that.
Yeah. And it's like, holy smokes. What a friggin' waste of time. And as we've discussed, and something that I came to realize, and it took me a long bloody time to realize how important time is.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the common theme here is like you're putting so much of your time into something that isn't real and doesn't build your relationship and isn't in the real world. Like, right, it's off of something that you're being dictated by staring at a screen and getting these little dopamine hits. Yeah, sure. But then you're going to go back and try to find more of that, and it's going to leave you empty versus trying to find something that's a little more fulfilling. Something that moves your body a little bit, which is going to give you dopamine release anyway. Something that is going to make some memories because I've watched CSI, I don't know how many seasons. I can remember like 5 episodes maybe. And there's like 20 in each one.
Oh, yeah.
So my point is, but I remember multiple times that we went on walks and we saw that one eagle that was like 10 meters or 20 meters away and it was huge. Like, just today we saw a big raccoon in the park. Like, cool. Stuff like that. I remember that because it was just so vivid and real and it was cool and interesting. So, and those are just little examples. So my point is I think doing something that you're going to remember and that's going to bring you joy. And I think the key there is together. It's away from a screen, and that's moving and ideally outside. I think that's like, and it can be little or big, but something in that scope I think is so critical.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're movie buffs, so we love movies and TV shows, but it's just limiting that. Oh, yeah. Have your time, have your 1 hour.
We actually find that because I used to love The Flash, the show The Flash. Yeah. I actually don't want to watch it. I'm more choosy now because I know that I'm not interested in spending a bunch of time watching television.
Totally.
But I still love it. But I'm just more choosy on what I watch.
Totally, and I think that's kind of where we're at with, which I actually really appreciate now. Is if we are going to watch, okay, we're going to watch one for an hour. Okay, well let's make sure we really want to watch. If we're going to watch a movie, it's like a movie that we really really like and want to watch. Or we'll see a new one in the theaters. Or something on that lines, but it's not our relationship. And again, not to mention we exercise every morning together.
We do.
We take the dogs all the time, so it's again I have to repeat the recipes together, but it's this together, not tension on the screen, outside and active. I think that's the key there, the counter to the heavy screen watching.
To the distraction.
Absolutely.
Oh man, this is just the tip. So many things.
Oh no, there's so much more we can dive into. It's because of the again, especially with the, not to mention when you're sitting down eating all the snack stuff with the food, that can cause a lot of issues.
Oh no, if we go down this route,
the sedentary life,
17-hour podcast.
Totally, but even those little things, it's I think the takeaway, again, go for a walk with your partner. For 20 minutes, go to a different park that you like.
Start by looking at how much distraction are you consuming in your life.
How much
I wish I had known that.
Same.
Back in the day. But you know what? I kind of don't because I love my life where it is now.
Totally.
But I do feel like I wasted a lot of my life.
Exactly.
Sitting in front of a screen. Hundreds of hours.
Oh, same. I do with video games too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that do that. And again, I love video games. I am not saying don't play video games. I'm saying just like now when I do it, I'm like, okay, I got like 45 minutes.
Yeah, you set
I'm
your
gonna play
time.
for a bit, have a little bit of fun, just zone out, and then then we're gonna go take the dogs for a walk.
Yeah.
Or something. Won't even get to do that. But the point is it's just setting those limitations, and you enjoy it a lot more.
It's true.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you have time to enjoy other things. So maybe to backpedal, like you said, is to look at how much screen time you have now.
Yeah.
How much time do you, and not just literally on your phone, but check your phone, how much screen time you have on your phone.
Yeah.
And then how much time you're spending in front of your TV a day, a week. And then do the math and just how much of that could you put? Could I cut that in half? Could I cut that by 25% to start and do something with my partner? And if you don't have a partner, even just with yourself, that is active, that is outside, right? And where you have to be present.
Yeah. Totally.
Awesome. Well, like I said, we keep going, but
I know I love talking about this stuff so much.
I know, absolutely.
Because I'm so passionate about wanting more for people based on how I've been in the past. So
totally. Well, and this is why we have our
that's why we do what we do.
That's why we're having a group that meets twice a week. And
no, twice a month.
Thank you. Twice a month.
Twice a week would be
a lot.
A lot.
Twice a month to discuss this kind of stuff, to help people with this.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is good.
This is good.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I always appreciate your wisdom because you're full of it. And I love you and I appreciate you.
Yes, I love you too.
So thanks again for listening to this episode. I really appreciate you listening. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn and to see if there's any changes there that you can make in your relationship to help. And if you know anybody that could get some value from this, might need to hear this, please share it with them, because that's what it's all about, is sharing information, sharing wisdom, sharing, learning from our previous mistakes on things that didn't work and doing something different so you don't have to go through the same struggles and trials that we did. Just some last bit of information there is, researching on this. Again, I think I mentioned before, but Canadians on average spend 2 hours a day on their phone, bare minimum, 2 hours a day on social media. It's bare minimum. Again, staring at a screen. And up to 3.5 hours a day watching TV. So if you do the math, if 8 hours you're sleeping, maybe even 6, depending on who you are, if 8 hours is you're working and during a normal work day, right? So you got 16 hours. You're going to be eating for a few of those hours a day. That means you only have about 3 to 5 hours left. And if you're spending most of that time on social media or just staring at a screen, how much time are you investing in your relationship? It's not much left to give. So to recap, my suggestion is to look at how much time you're spending and look at just taking 25% out of the way and investing it into your relationship. Do something physical, do something together, and do something outside. So I hope this helps. Thanks again for listening. I'll catch you on the next episode.